now to your Pinpoint Weather 12 forecast. As we've been telling you, we are under a severe weather alert for a high impact system moving in late tonight. And take a look at this video out of Kansas. Snow there causing major issues on the roads. We apologize we don't have that video, but we've been talking about snow in the middle of the country. We're not getting it, but that does not mean we're not getting a high impact storm. You can tell just from, I'm going to move this way, the waves in Narragansett behind us really coming in now. Yeah, and that is a concern. It's not just the wind, but also, Shannon, a coastal flood warning. More than likely moderate coastal flooding at the time of high tide early Friday morning. And speaking of snow and cold, it does turn, and I do want to point this out, a very rapid temperature drop tomorrow night. Bitterly cold air settles in for Christmas weekend, so we do have a winter chill on the way, but this is mainly rain, as you mentioned. All right, there's so much to cover. Let's first head outside one more time. I want to show you the picture that Shannon was talking about, Narragansett Town Beach, and those are kite surfers. Now, you certainly wouldn't be able to do this by tomorrow morning. The winds will just be howling, but you see that the winds are picking up. The surf is getting agitated as well. So the problem is we have an astronomical high tide coming up for tomorrow, and we have a strong onshore wind out of the south, which quite simply is just going to push the water towards the coastline. So there may be a surge of a couple of feet, some moderate coastal flooding at that early morning high tide on Friday. So we're talking about scenes like this that will continue overnight and right on through Friday morning. So the coastal flood watch is now a coastal flood warning for the areas in red, but it's not just the South Shore. It does include communities up Narragansett Bay during that early morning high tide. You see the arrows are coming in towards the shoreline, gusting over 60 miles per hour. So taking a look, and we've been talking about this now for the last couple of days, the power outage risk. And I'm looking at some new data, and when we've been saying how there's at least a moderate risk. I mean, we may be talking moderate to borderline high risk of power outages. These are the wind gusts that we're forecasting, first out of the south and then turning southwest tomorrow evening, tomorrow night for all areas, though favoring the coastline as perhaps having some of the stronger wind gusts, but that risk of outages just about everywhere. So heavy rain, strong winds, very high risk. The power outage risk, I would say moderate to borderline high, and that flooding risk is at least moderate, both due to heavy rainfall and that coastal surge during the time of high tide. So the leading edge of the precipitation is starting to work in early this evening. I wouldn't call it overly stormy, but as we get deeper into the overnight and especially on Friday, it really picks up. So one storm across the Great Lakes, a secondary one off the mid-Atlantic coastline. This one will sort of get absorbed into the other one to intensify it into a pretty big storm across the Great Lakes. Look at this huge temperature contrast. Behind the storm, sub-zero, out ahead of it, very mild. And when you have that contrast of warm and cold, that's when storms really wrap up. All right, this evening and overnight, you see the rain and the wind on the increase. The main storm center through the Great Lakes. Warm front producing very mild temperatures tomorrow morning. Heavy rain, strong damaging wind. And here's the cold front that really means business when it passes through late tomorrow afternoon. This is about 2 o'clock. The cold front with its own set of heavy rain and strong wind. The front sweeps offshore, and that bitterly cold Arctic air will stroll in. By tomorrow night, I do expect scattered snow showers. Not widespread snow, but scattered snow showers Friday night and bitterly cold. Look at the big temperature drop. Tomorrow morning, it is close to 60. Here comes that cold front, and look at the huge temperature drop as it passes offshore. By tomorrow night, temperature down to 19. We are anticipating the pavement to dry out in time before the temperature falls below freezing, so as far as a flash freeze, but this is something that we're going to have to watch. Does the road dry out in time before the temperature plummets? We think it will, but that is something that we'll watch very closely. A lot of rain on the order of 2 to 2.5, 3 inches of rain tonight, right on through Friday. We'll get in real close to the forecast this evening. Initially light rain becoming heavy and windswept by midnight. It is very stormy tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. with a wind-driven heavy rain, and then as the cold front comes through during the early afternoon, more rain and wind, but then watch what happens. The temperature tumbles tomorrow night with scattered snow showers. We start at 60 degrees Friday morning, down to 19 by 11 o'clock tomorrow night. Sets the stage for a windy, frigid, but dry Christmas weekend. Christmas Eve, bitterly cold. Christmas Day, sunshine, still bitter cold with temperatures in the upper 20s. Bottom line, high impact storm on the way for later tonight into Friday. Thank you.